I still remember that moment vividly, when with a cold, dismissive laugh my wife declared, "You'll never find someone better," as if my future were sealed by her contempt. Those words haunted me, echoing like a curse long after the conversation ended. Now, as I watch our engagement party live on TV from a distance, I realize that fate has rewritten our story. Her once sure claim is now the bitter irony of my triumph, as I celebrate finding true happiness and love beyond the confines of a failed marriage. Every heartbeat, every tear shed in despair has led me here, to a moment of quiet, resounding victory. I remember the days after her callous remark as if they were a blur of pain and confusion. I had spent months questioning my self-worth, wondering if I would ever be able to escape the shadow of her harsh words. The office, once a refuge from the storm of my emotions, had become a constant reminder of the insecurity she'd instilled in me. I'd watch the clock, each tick echoing in the empty spaces of my heart, until one day I decided enough was enough. I threw myself into work with a vengeance, determined to prove that her prediction was nothing more than a self-fulfilling prophecy for her, not for me. Late nights in the office became my sanctuary, where I meticulously planned projects, networked with colleagues, and even took on new responsibilities that challenged me beyond my comfort zone. I sought out mentors, absorbed every piece of advice, and slowly began to rebuild the confidence that had been eroded by her constant disparagement. During that period of intense self-reflection, I also turned inward and reconnected with the hobbies I'd long abandoned. I took up running, a way to escape the lingering doubts and to clear my mind as I pounded the pavement under early morning skies. I even enrolled in a cooking class, rediscovering the joy of creating something nourishing out of raw ingredients. These small acts of self-care were the first steps in a long journey toward rediscovering who I truly was without her constant judgment. My breakthrough came unexpectedly one rainy evening when I was browsing through old photographs on my laptop. I came across an image of myself smiling, truly smiling, during a time when I believed in endless possibilities. That picture struck a chord deep within me. I realized that I had been living in a shadow of negativity, defined by the hurtful words she had once hurled at me. I decided then that my future would no longer be dictated by her doubts or by the bitterness of my past. Instead, I resolved to build a life filled with authenticity, joy, and the kind of love that lifts you up rather than tears you down. I began dating again, tentatively at first, cautious not to rush into anything new. I met people who saw me for who I was, a person capable of compassion, strength, and genuine affection. With each new encounter, I felt the old wounds start to heal. I learned to laugh freely again, to trust in my own worth, and to embrace the possibilities that lay ahead. It wasn't easy. There were moments when memories of her cruel words would resurface, but gradually I built a new identity that was defined by hope and resilience rather than past pain. One bright autumn day, when the leaves turned a brilliant shade of gold, I met someone who changed everything. We connected over shared interests and a mutual understanding that life is too short for regrets. In her eyes, I saw the promise of a future unburdened by old lies and broken promises. Our conversations flowed naturally, filled with humor and heartfelt admissions about the past. I discovered that true love isn't about perfection. It's about growing together, supporting each other through hardships, and celebrating every small victory. It was a love that felt honest and liberating, a stark contrast to the toxic dynamics I had endured. As our relationship blossomed, I decided it was time to take the next step. I proposed in a quiet, intimate moment that felt as if the universe itself had conspired to bring us together. I planned a simple yet heartfelt engagement, an event that celebrated not just our commitment, but my journey from heartbreak to happiness. I even shared my story on social media, not to boast, but to inspire others who might be grappling with similar pain. The response was overwhelming, a testament to the fact that many had found solace in my words, and that my story resonated far beyond my own experiences. Then came the day of the engagement party, a day that would forever redefine what it meant to overcome. I was surrounded by friends, family, and colleagues, all of whom had witnessed my transformation and cheered me on every step of the way. The atmosphere was one of joy and celebration, a stark contrast to the bitterness of the past. And as I watched the engagement party unfold live on TV, I couldn't help but feel a deep, abiding sense of triumph. There she was, my ex-wife, watching from afar, a silent spectator to the life I had rebuilt without her. Her once dismissive words, "You'll never find someone better," now rang hollow in the face of the love and support that enveloped me. I realized then that my journey had been about so much more than proving her wrong. It was about finding my own worth, reclaiming my identity, and embracing the possibilities that life offered when you refused to be defined by someone else's limitations. Every tear shed, every sleepless night, had been a stepping stone to this moment of quiet victory, a moment when I stood tall, not as the man she once tried to belittle, but as someone who had risen above the pain and created a future filled with hope and genuine love. This is the beginning of my new chapter, a chapter where I celebrate not just an engagement, but the triumphant rebirth of a man who dared to dream, who refused to be held back by the echoes of the past, and who now walks forward with a heart unburdened by doubt. My ex-wife's words have lost their power over me, replaced by the vibrant reality of a life lived authentically, with passion and purpose. And as I step into this promising future, I carry with me the unwavering belief that I am enough, that my happiness is mine to create, and that sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply living well. In the weeks following that unforgettable engagement announcement, my life took on a new rhythm, a mix of bittersweet memories and the exhilaration of newfound freedom. I began to see that every step I took toward this bright future was a quiet defiance against the harsh words that once tried to define me. I threw myself into planning the next phase of my life, both personally and professionally, and every decision I made was imbued with a sense of purpose that pushed the old wounds further into the past. At first, the transformation wasn't immediate. I'd wake in the early hours with a heavy heart, haunted by flashbacks of our last conversation, the cruel certainty in her voice when she'd said I'd never find someone better. On those mornings, doubts would creep in, whispering that maybe I wasn't ready to leave the shadows behind. But with each sunrise, I forced myself to lace up my running shoes and hit the pavement. The rhythmic pounding of my feet on the cool sidewalk became a meditative practice, a way to expel the lingering bitterness and replace it with a steady, determined pulse. In those solitary runs, I found solace and clarity, each stride a quiet reminder that my path was mine alone. Work, too, became a sanctuary. I immersed myself in new projects with a fervor that surprised even me. I took on challenges that stretched my capabilities and pushed me to develop innovative ideas. Late nights in the office were no longer scenes of quiet despair but battlegrounds where I reaffirmed my vision. My colleagues began to notice the change in my demeanor. A subtle confidence replaced the old hesitancy, and my contributions carried a renewed energy that resonated with everyone around me. With each successful project, I felt a small victory, a testament to the fact that I was capable of not only surviving but thriving, despite her once damaging words. One memorable evening, I found myself at a networking event with an eclectic mix of professionals. The ambience was warm, the conversations animated, and yet, amidst the buzz of excitement, I caught sight of someone from my past, a mutual acquaintance who had once witnessed the fallout of that crushing declaration. Their eyes widened in recognition when they learned about my engagement. "I never thought you'd come out on top," they admitted, a note of admiration, and perhaps a tinge of regret, threading through their words. That simple comment, delivered quietly between handshakes and smiles, reaffirmed my belief that the very doubts meant to hold me back had instead propelled me forward. Meanwhile, as I nurtured my personal growth, I re-entered the dating scene with cautious optimism. I met a woman whose kindness and genuine interest in my story helped me see that love could indeed be a healing force. Our early dates were filled with long walks in the park, quiet dinners where conversation flowed freely, and moments where laughter came easily. Each meeting chipped away at the old narrative that I was unlovable. Slowly, I began to embrace the idea that the future could hold something more. A relationship built on mutual respect, shared values, and the kind of honest, unguarded love that I had once believed was beyond my reach. Yet, even as I moved forward with new beginnings, I couldn't entirely ignore the remnants of the past. There were fleeting moments when I'd catch a glimpse of my ex-wife on television, a news segment about local business trends or a candid interview, and for an instant, her voice would echo in my mind. I remembered how dismissive she had been, how she'd confidently proclaimed that I'd never find someone better. But then I'd shake off the memory, reminding myself that her words were no longer mine to carry. My journey was not about proving her right or wrong, it was about proving to myself that I was enough. And with each passing day, the echo of her disbelief faded further, replaced by the vibrant, living reality of my engagement and my thriving career. I began documenting my journey more publicly. I started a blog where I shared the ups and downs of rebuilding my life after heartbreak, detailing the challenges and triumphs with raw honesty. The responses were overwhelming. Messages from readers who, like me, had once been confined by the limits imposed by someone else's narrow vision. Their support, interspersed with stories of their own struggles and breakthroughs, formed a community that reaffirmed my belief in the transformative power of resilience and self-love. In one particularly poignant blog post, I recounted the day I received a call from a longtime friend who asked, "How did you do it?" The question, simple yet profound, encapsulated the journey I had undertaken. I told them that it wasn't about a sudden epiphany or a miraculous turnaround. It was about the daily choices to stand tall in the face of adversity, to run even when my legs ached, and to show up every day with the intention of proving that I was more than the sum of someone else's derision. That post resonated deeply, and the flood of supportive comments reminded me that my experience was not unique, but part of a larger tapestry of human resilience. As the months rolled by, I watched my engagement photos, which had once been just a set of images capturing a happy moment, transform into symbols of my transformation. In each photograph, I saw not only the joy of finding love again but also the quiet triumph over a past that had once defined my existence. I was now a man who had overcome doubt, who had redefined success on my own terms, and who had built a future that glowed with the promise of new beginnings. Every smile in those photos was a victory over the voices that had said I'd never find someone better. At the same time, I noticed that my ex-wife's presence in my life had diminished. I rarely saw her at social gatherings, and when I did, there was a palpable distance, a reminder that her world had shifted, and she was now a spectator to the life I was crafting. It was a bittersweet realization, but one that brought a sense of closure. The woman who had once tried to diminish me was now left with a life that I no longer needed to validate. My engagement, my new love, and my flourishing career had all become irrefutable evidence that I had not only found someone better but had also become a better version of myself. As I continue to embrace this new chapter, I find that the lessons I've learned have reshaped my entire perspective. I've come to understand that the pain of the past is not a burden to be carried forever, but a catalyst for growth, a reminder that our true worth is defined not by the opinions of others, but by the strength we summon from within. My journey from heartbreak to engagement has been a testament to the fact that love, in its most genuine form, is not about clinging to what was lost, but about boldly stepping into what can be created. In the quiet moments before sleep, when the world is hushed and my mind wanders through the memories of yesteryears, I now smile. I smile at the resilience that has carried me through every trial and at the love that has blossomed where once there was only doubt. The echoes of her dismissive words have faded into the background, replaced by the steady beat of a heart that now beats for itself and for the future it eagerly anticipates. This phase of my life is not an end, but a new beginning, one where every challenge met and every triumph celebrated is a quiet proclamation that I am more than enough. I have learned that sometimes, the harshest words can be the spark that lights the fire of transformation. And as I continue to build my life on the foundation of that very fire, I move forward with unwavering confidence, knowing that my happiness is mine to create, and that the best is yet to come. I remember the day I finally realized that every painful lesson had paved the way for my rebirth. It was a quiet Sunday morning, the kind where the world seems to pause in reverence, and I found myself alone on the balcony of my apartment, watching as the first light of dawn broke over the city skyline. In that still moment, I reflected on the journey that had carried me from the depths of despair, when my wife had coldly declared I'd never find someone better, to the overwhelming joy of my engagement celebration. The memories of her dismissive words had once stung like poison, but now, they had faded into a distant echo, one that no longer held sway over my heart. I was free, finally free to embrace the truth that my worth was never determined by someone else's bitterness. In the weeks that followed my engagement announcement, my life transformed in ways I could hardly have imagined. I immersed myself in the process of planning a future that was bright with possibility, where each detail of the engagement and wedding reflected not a desperate attempt to prove someone wrong, but a celebration of the new life I was building. I pored over invitations, meticulously chose the perfect venue, and even spent long evenings testing different recipes for the reception dinner. Every decision became a small victory, a reminder that I was not the man who once wallowed in self-doubt, but someone who had reclaimed his power through resilience and hard-won triumphs. At work, the echoes of the past had finally been silenced by a steady stream of accomplishments. I was promoted to a leadership position, a role that allowed me to shape the future of our department and mentor younger colleagues who admired my unwavering determination. The success I experienced there wasn't just professional validation, it was personal vindication. I was proving to myself and to everyone around me that the harsh words spoken in anger had been nothing more than the fuel for my journey, not its destination. Every meeting I led, every innovative idea I presented, reminded me that I had grown beyond the limits that others had tried to impose on me. Yet it wasn't only in the boardrooms and planning sessions that I found solace. My personal life had blossomed as well. I reconnected with old friends who had always seen the best in me, and I began forming new relationships based on mutual respect and genuine affection. On quiet weekends, I would take long drives out of the city, the open road a metaphor for the endless possibilities before me. I even rediscovered the simple pleasure of reading, a habit I had once abandoned in the throes of heartbreak. In each new chapter of a novel, I found echoes of my own journey, characters overcoming adversity, discovering hidden strengths, and ultimately embracing the love and hope that lay beyond their pain. The turning point of my transformation came unexpectedly one cool autumn evening. I was at a charity event, an intimate gathering that celebrated community resilience, when I caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd. It was her, my ex-wife, standing alone at the edge of the room, her expression a mixture of surprise and quiet regret. I watched as she hesitated, her eyes meeting mine for a fleeting second before she turned away. In that moment I felt no anger, no bitterness, only a profound sense of peace. I realized that her life, too, had been irrevocably altered by the choices she had made. While she had once tried to diminish my worth with her dismissive words, the passage of time had shown me that our paths were meant to diverge. I was not defined by her opinion. My journey was mine to continue, full of promise and purpose. That evening, as I mingled with others who shared stories of overcoming personal hardships, I felt a surge of gratitude for the resilience that had carried me this far. I listened intently to the stories of strangers who had experienced their own betrayals and heartbreaks, and I shared my own tale with quiet humility. Every word I spoke was a testament to the fact that our deepest wounds can, with time and effort, transform into the foundations of a new beginning. I realized that my engagement was not just a personal milestone, it was a celebration of survival, of self-discovery, and of the power that comes from rising above the shadows of the past. In the weeks that followed, my engagement party became a symbol not only of love but of renewal. As I watched the live broadcast of our celebration on television, I could almost feel the warmth of the room, the genuine smiles of my friends and family, and the sincere cheers that accompanied every toast. It was in that moment of public joy that I fully embraced the life I had built, a life where I was cherished for who I was, and where every ounce of pain from the past had been transformed into strength and inspiration. I realized that the very person who had once told me I'd never find someone better was now forced to witness my happiness from afar, a bittersweet irony that underscored the unpredictable twists of fate. As the celebration continued on the screen, I felt a quiet surge of vindication mixed with a deep, abiding sense of contentment. I wasn't living for the approval of others, nor was I chasing validation from those who had once doubted me. I was living for myself, for the joy that comes from knowing that I had fought against the odds and emerged victorious. The laughter, the music, and the warmth of the gathering were all part of a new narrative, a narrative where my worth was measured by the love I had found and the resilience I had nurtured, rather than by the hurtful words of a past that no longer mattered. In the final analysis, my journey from heartbreak to engagement has been a testament to the transformative power of self-belief and resilience. I have learned that while the scars of betrayal may never completely disappear, they can be reshaped into symbols of strength. Each painful memory, each moment of doubt, has contributed to the person I am today, a person who is confident, compassionate, and unapologetically in control of his destiny. I now understand that the journey to self-discovery is paved with both hardships and triumphs, and that every setback is an opportunity to redefine one's own worth. As I step forward into this promising new chapter, I do so with an open heart and an unwavering belief that the best is yet to come. My engagement, my new love, and the life I have built are proof that I have not only found someone better, but that I have become a better version of myself, a version that no longer carries the weight of past hurts. I am free from the chains of bitterness and ready to embrace the future with joy, gratitude, and a deep sense of inner peace. This is my story, a journey that began with a hurtful declaration and has blossomed into a celebration of life, love, and personal triumph. I now stand as a testament to the fact that true happiness is not defined by the opinions of those who once tried to hold you back, but by the strength you find within yourself to rise, rebuild, and flourish. And as I continue on this path, I carry with me the knowledge that every ending, no matter how painful, is simply the prelude to a new, extraordinary beginning.